Oh,
I forgot about that intro.
you totally forgot about it,
The
right?
music is like too relaxing, I think.
I don't know.
It's a bit
I
too
liked
like
it.
floaty. It's good though.
I like it a
That
lot.
blew me away.
And now Jack has
I'm
glasses.
glad.
You guys
Wow.
just told me on
Fuck that.
StreamYard. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so I made that one. So there is like a default StreamYard one. If you want to see it, look at the KRT countdown. But then
I
they
like
add
that
in they add in their
countdown,
intro afterwards. But yeah, I
Right.
wanted to do a full Star Warsy countdown, so that's what that was. And yeah, I'm
Oh,
glad it
That was
works.
sweet. Yeah. Okay. I
Yeah.
was just like, whoa, what is happening? This is crazy.
But yeah, we are. I'll do a little intro here. We're the HoloNet Marauders here. HoloNet Marauders live now with a logo and
With
a
the
cooler
logo.
background.
Up in Jack's corner, you can see it there.
Yeah, he's got that.
That
Looks good.
direction.
It's really hard to
There.
point, you guys. There it is.
Better than I would have done. And we're joined here with Dylan or Dylon from
Yes.
All New Nerds.
Hello, everybody.
Good to have you on. And we're going to talk about Cornered, episode 4 of The Bad Batch. We will talk about a lot of spoilers.
Mm.
So if you don't want to be spoiled, please please leave if you don't want to be spoiled. If you don't care, stay and
Yeah, get
Talk
out of
with
here.
us.
What are you doing here?
Heavy spoilers, that is for sure. Happy that.
So the first thing I want to talk about with this episode is just like Pantora is like one of my favorite planets now. And
I
like
loved
it's the vibes there are so cool. It's like half city. It's very like Middle Eastern inspired. I guess you'd say. It's so cool. I love it.
The architecture is really neat. The tops of some of the buildings have similar structure to like it's like the Moscow build, like the Russian.
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture. I can't describe it, but
I don't know the term.
yeah, because like we've seen like a higher echelon region of Pantora before, but it's kind of cool to see kind of like the underworld, if you will.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
what we saw from before for Pantora was one of the moons, right? So we never actually
That's true.
have we seen Pantora at all?
I thought.
I feel like we
that they were,
have
on
in
a,
Clone Wars.
Yeah, Padme was there on a senatorial mission. I can't remember the episode specifically. Should have looked it up.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, it's okay.
I'm sure
Well-
someone out there knows.
This is we don't know. It's all good. I loved Pantora though. I loved seeing the blend of actual like all the different aliens that we have in the Star Wars galaxy, because that's one thing that's just like so far like on Seleucami it was a lot of like regular like average looking people, not a lot of like aliens yet, aside from like a couple like vendors, but like actually going to a planet where the main population, the Pantorans, they're blue. So that's just like super exciting for me to like see like the extra aliens and be like, oh, this actually is a totally different world. It's not just another planet with a bunch of humans on it, which is cool, even though they are humanoid species, but they're blue.
And I know like Matt will come on here in a little and he'll talk about how he loves Star Wars is about backwater planets with like nobody, like Sorgan or these planets. But I'm such a sucker for like the city planets where there's a lot of stuff going on. I got huge KOTOR vibes of just when the ship lands in the docking bay and they have to check in with the guy. And that's like that happens in that game all the time. Whenever you go to any planet, there's always some sort of issue.
Yeah.
And that pretty much happened with the sleaze bag working the docking bay there.
Yeah,
I mean-
with Pantora and other planets in Star Wars, I love Star Wars' take on like neon lights almost. Where it just looks like squiggles and gibberish, and it's all I don't know. And then just with the Clone Wars style on top of that, it looks so cool.
Yeah, I so one of my favorite vibes, at least in the past like 2 or 3 years or so, is the whole like cyberpunky synthwave and like all that jazz. Hence why our opening sequence is a song like that. And like I have the music like in like the podcast, and like I have the strongest belief that Star Wars popular music is some sort of genre like that. And this episode confirmed it. We get a truck driver listening to some like crazy like EDM, just like
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yucca
Like
guy.
That guy was sweet.
oh my gosh, like Star Wars popular music is like a hot topic for me. I just want to know so much more about it. Like we have like Cal Kestis listens to The Who, not like classic rock The Who, but
That
the
up
throat
level.
singing The Who.
Mhm.
And then we have the Cantina Band, and it's just like
Yeah.
That's
People
it.
be
It's like Dex
people be
is
vibing in Star Wars.
yeah, like
listening to all
so
the different
happy.
tracks that Dex puts together and
Yeah.
with Cantina, it
Ooh,
really
yeah.
creates an awesome atmosphere.
Yeah, absolute party music. Like
it's-
I love it.
it's really cool to see Pantora being featured as like, it seems like you can choose to be an Imperial Pantoran in squadrons, and that seems to imply like, they're very pro Empire. Well, I mean, it's a conscription no matter what, but for them to be recruited, I mean, they must have had very close ties with the Empire, and we're seeing that early on because they're just really for it, like ready for that order and security that they're promising.
Right. I remember on a watch party that we did over on my channel, like instantly I compared it to Seleucumai, or I contrasted it to Seleucumai, because in Seleucumai they were like, what's this Empire business? Like, why are they here? Like, get them out of here. No one seemed to really be vibing with the whole Empire stuff, but they were like cheering them on. They were like, hell yeah, this is what we're doing. This is what's going on. We're with it.
It feels like on a city planet, it necessarily won't change as much the normal day in, day out for them, because they still will be like an occupied planet. They definitely had like a Republic presence there before, so it's not like much will change for them. And it seems like there wasn't really too many like issues. I mean, I do for some reason vividly remember seeing in this episode when they're like running around in the city, like a few like homeless people like on the edges of like, the street. But aside from like that couple things, it's a very like well policed city. Like there are literally Pantoran guards everywhere. And everything seems like it's running like really well. So so Imperial control wouldn't really make a difference for this planet. So they're like, yeah, go for it. They're like, I want all of it.
Yeah, like they set up the stations to transfer your currency and get your chain code, and like they're doing a parade. Like they're trying to make it a positive pomp and circumstance thing, and the Pantorans are buying it.
Yeah, once again we saw Rampart too. He's getting Rampart on there.
The same little like recording. Okay, not to switch gears completely, but I want to drop the 3 references offhand to other Star Wars media. Ready? The clone trooper doll. So Jin has the doll in the beginning of Rogue One. I was losing my mind seeing just like the doll on display. Oh, so good.
You gotta put
they just kind of take that too.
Yeah, like she did.
Well, she just. Well, that was part of the sale of Echo.
She dropped it, and then and then she got distracted by number 2 here. She got distracted by the dog, which is like Tora's dog from Resistance Buggles. This is the first time we've seen something that was in Resistance originally in a new Star Wars content. Like, no one's gonna care about this, like, except me. I'm not.
Is your third thing the other Resistance reference?
No.
The droid.
Clink.
Oh, Clink. Oh,
yeah.
Well, yeah, I wasn't even thinking of that, but like, Clink. Love Clink.
He's so cute.
I love Clink.
Oh, gosh. No, I was going to say, it's kind of like, it was very similar to Mandalorian with them arriving with the whole docking bay and the entire situation, checking in with the person who's there. So Mando docking the Razor Crest and talking to Peli. It was very similar to that as well, although he didn't offer repairs, but like he was very like under the radar sketchy, which like Peli definitely is as well.
You know what else is very similar to the Mandalorian? The whole show.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot.
Yeah, Lone Wolf takes care of a young vulnerable child, and bounty hunters are trying to take her away.
Right. It feels different enough that they can get away with it. At least right now, it's like you can tell kind of what direction it's gonna start going to. But it's even the same bounty hunter that's going for the child. So
what's interesting?
She has failed twice now.
It's interesting with Fennec Shand of all people showing up. I remember when the trailer first dropped, and they're like, "Oh, Fennec Shand's in this. You can see her." And I'm like, "Wait, what? Why? Why Fennec?" But then I'm like, "Okay, cool. I want to see more of her. I am not complaining." And Ming-Na Wen is amazing, and it's so nice to hear her voice the character as well to create that synergy. But I kept wondering, like, okay, well, what's the connection here? But now I'm wondering, like, do you think we might see Boba, maybe played by Daniel Logan again? Like, because one thing that confused me about The Mandalorian was Boba shows up to rescue Fennec Shand. Spoilers for season 1 and 2 of Mandalorian. And I was always like, okay, but I mean, what ties does Boba have to Fennec? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I don't mind. I'm always willing to let those things go. But now I'm curious, like, could they potentially open that up here on the side? This is a show made about Omega and Bad Batch, but it'd be really cool to see.
I feel like they could. They definitely could like do like how they met in the first place, like in this show, and then it just comes up again later, in which it's some sort of like life debt kind of situation. They definitely could, or they could just do it as like a one-off line in Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah,
I feel like everything that we saw of Fennec in this episode so far was everything that we have seen in the trailers, also. So
yeah,
I think that she'll show up again, but whatever happens is going to be something that's totally unexpected.
We're running out of trailer footage for sure. Like we're starting to, and I like that. And Mandalorian and all the Marvel shows have done that too, where it's like eventually you're just, you're in the deep end. You have no idea what's about to happen. And so we're definitely getting toward there. We still got, not to go ahead, we'll come back, but like Rex, we got that, and the Zygerians and stuff like that. But otherwise, I can't really think of anything major that's been in the trailers that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
The bow and arrow that Omega has. Yeah, other than that, yeah, you're right. I like that they front load the trailer footage, and once you get to the middle to the end of the season, you don't know what's going to happen, and I do like that. I know there's probably people that want to like see footage and just know what's going to happen, but I'm with you on that one. That I like to go in blind. If we could do no trailer for the whole season, like I know Adam Driver said before episode 9 or whatever, he was like, oh, like Star Wars doesn't need a trailer, you just put a title and
you just go.
Yeah. But I mean, I do obviously like seeing trailers, and it gets me excited. But also shout out to Millie. I see All New Nerds is in the chat. Is that Levi, I guess?
Or Johnny, could be one of them.
Or Johnny on his road trip in the back of the car.
Johnny on the road trip.
Farm Boy.
I was ready this time.
And Jedi General.
Yeah, and Mandy share it too.
So we have some spillover from your
Hey,
I put it in our Discord
cool.
announcements area, so hopefully we can get some.
Yeah, they would be kind of the same age. I think Boba might be a little bit older than Omega Millie, but either way, that'd be interesting. Yeah, so like Boba would definitely be the younger of the two, so it'd be kind of interesting to see how.
Between Boba and Omega.
Oh no, yeah, I'm sorry. I meant I was thinking Boba and Fennec. I should have specified what.
Well, that brings up the question: does Omega have accelerated aging, or has she been a project for about 10 years? I mean, I'm saying the youngest she can be is probably 10.
That's a really good point.
I don't know if we, I don't know if we have it. So that would make her 5 if she does have accelerated aging. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure we'll get an answer, but
I really loved hearing during the chase sequence on the speeders, which Fennec was ruthless on that. She just rips a guy off a speeder who's just minding his own business, and she just ices those 2 cops.
Yeah, seriously.
But all those speeder sounds, I mean, just hearing all those episode 2 sounds and and like all those
took
sounds,
me back.
Loved it.
Episode 2 sounds.
It was in episode 2. It was definitely an Attack of the Clones episode.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what's up, Matt?
How's it going?
Matt, you watched the episode, right?
We literally just finished watching the episode.
Shows up to the chat to talk about it, and
we're talking about the chase right now.
So
we're talking about the chase already.
There was
very Zam Wessela.
Yeah, so there was a tweet the other day. Someone tagged like Skywalker Sound or something, or they're like, "Oh, make sure you listen for something." So is that what they're referring to? Because honestly, I was trying to listen as close as possible to this episode, and I couldn't figure it out. And I settled on it was the EDM music that the driver was listening to. But and obviously,
no, it was definitely the sound of Zam Wessel's speeder on the speeder that Fennec Shand stole.
Okay. Got it.
I heard that. I'm like,
which is funny because I've already seen people compare her to Zam Wessel, like when she appeared in Mando. Like I don't know, her helmet kind of, I don't know. They have similar properties there.
Yeah, the top part is similar. Yeah, definitely.
So.
So, Millie asks, I wonder why Fennec's client wants Omega. So I guess, who do we think the client is?
So
do we think it's the client? No, I'm kidding.
I don't think it's the Kaminoans because they let Omega go.
Yeah.
I do think it's the Kaminoans.
And we talked about Boba a bit. I definitely don't think Fennec works for Boba because Boba's just starting out, I believe.
Who else would know about Omega?
I mean, unless
Palpatine,
it's some
maybe.
Yeah, unless it's
the Empire, Palpatine.
Well, Nalase made it pretty clear that she implied pretty heavily that the Empire wasn't aware of Omega as of any significance. Like
Palpatine.
Tarkin's asking about. Oh, but that. I'm not even going to get into my theories with Palpatine in this show, but we like what do you call it? Like we know that Tarkin isn't really aware of who she is, and he's not Grand Moff at this point, but he's still pretty darn high up the food chain. He'd be aware of something like that. You would assume.
Yeah, somebody noticed actually that his chest emblem in the last episode was for the Grand Moff position, but we're assuming that's an error. We don't think he jumped
However,
the ranks that much.
It's the same thing if he's a captain. Apparently, it's the same exact badge.
Oh, so he's Captain Tarkin now.
Yeah,
So he is
it's
moving
very-
up.
Or governor. I don't know. It's the same rank
Moff and
as
governor
something
is the
totally
same
different.
thing. So.
Yeah, it's the
Right.
same rank as something totally different. So he's I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. So with
yeah.
the people that do, I did just assume it was the Kaminoans that were working with Fennec. They probably hired Fennec to get Omega back, just because in the last episode or the episode before that, last episode, you like see them say like, we just need one, you know, and they're clearly trying to get Omega back. I think the reason they let her go was because they didn't want her to fall into the hands of the Empire or be killed there, because Crosshair was shooting to kill like in episode 1. So yeah, well, I'm pretty sure it's the Kaminoans that want her. But
my first thought when she was the client that she's talking to, my first thought was the Empire, because she is an Imperial sharpshooter, right? I mean, that's how they introduced her in The Mandalorian. How does she end up working for the Empire if she's, you know, kind of just hanging out as a bounty hunter right now?
Good
I have a hot take. What if it's Crosshair?
Ooh.
That's damn. They would make a good couple.
I don't know.
Another Imperial sharpshooter.
Because Crosshair knows about Omega, and he knows that she's a different kind of clone because he's there when Tech's like, oh, human, female, unknown. Like, he doesn't like all of that. So Crosshair knows that she's a modified clone. And it seems like no one else does know. So
well, how would he finance Fennec?
He's got contacts. Like Bad Batch knows so many people. Like, come on.
Well, we saw them struggle during this episode trying to get cash. You know, they had to scam that poor guy.
Even though they were like paying the guy up front, like everything they had, I was like, stop. Use that for food.
Yeah.
You were just talking about being hungry.
They stopped at this. They stopped at Pantora for like food and supplies, but they didn't get anything. They just stole a bunch of. Can we talk about my favorite arc of the?
Okay, hang on a second. Zach chimed in also.
Oh,
so
Zach's here, by the way. My friend Zach, who I watch.
Oh, Zach.
All these episodes with.
Hey, Zach.
Hey guys, what's up?
Let me just adjust your screen.
Are you on like the other side of the room?
I'm like right there.
Oh man.
Okay.
So wait, what is going on? That was crazy.
Yeah, so Matt and Zach are in the same spot. So
we're in the same spot. This is my friend Zach. He needs to mute. There he goes. We watch all the Bad Batch, pretty much all the Disney Plus stuff. We watch it every Friday together. It's like a tradition. He was my roommate in college, so
cool.
And also a Star Wars fan. So
and we also went to college with both of them.
And we also anyway. What were we talking about before that? Because I
was
Zach
getting
in
into
the chat, and I'm like, wait a
my
second.
favorite arc in this whole episode was Echo pretending to be a droid with the other droids.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I absolutely loved that. Like I loved the entire setup to it. I loved everything that happened with it. Like I just loved all of it. And poor Echo. Oh my God.
Yeah, because he really didn't appreciate being treated like a droid at
of course
all.
No,
he's having all these like, personal feelings about it. I loved that protocol droid because I'm sorry, I will always love a protocol droid who is very adamant about their programming and what they will and will not do.
Yeah,
because it's always like, listen, this is above my pay grade. Okay, you either program for me or get someone else. I love that droids can be like, no, can't do it. Sorry.
So good. Like,
I just love how Echo dressed up like a droid. And he looked like immediately, as soon as he walked off the ship, I was like, oh, he looks like a droid.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, you're going to stand out. And he's like, not in this. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? You look crazy right now. And then when they were like, oh, that's a droid. And he was like, what? I'm not a droid. It's like, what? Why are you dressed like that then? What is this?
You forgot.
Commit or don't.
He like literally did. But like, I loved all of it though. So that was like one of the shots from the trailer. That was Echo pushing the helmet down onto his face, because I remember seeing that and I was like, oh God, this kid, I'm like, this guy looks so sad. And I'm not ready to like see, because I thought something like serious was happening in that shot, and I'm so glad it was just like, I'm gonna pretend to be a droid.
It doesn't take away from the fact that he is very sad, it seems.
Oh, he is very
sad. He seems distraught.
So sad.
And talk about distraught, so not to take us off, which I seem to always be doing, but Wrecker too seemed very distraught this episode.
He's getting knocked
so
around. Randy made a good point earlier. Like, this is not like, how many times has he taken a blow to the head or to the gut?
3. He's had 3 very specific called out ones.
Each time he gets hit, it does the chip and then it undoes the chip. So
he's already not very strong-minded of a person. It's not helping him, like poor guy's only got so many brain cells.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm kind of wondering if all the hits to the head are gonna affect the chip somehow.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
I don't want Wrecker to turn on them.
Scramble his brain somehow.
It's bound to happen one of these episodes.
Oh yeah,
it's probably gonna be when Rex is there.
I'm actually surprised they didn't. I forgot about that from the last episode. I'm surprised they didn't address that like at all. Like he's not having the headaches anymore. Is he good? Like
yeah. Like it's such a weird like subplot because it's really really important, but I feel like they're not giving it as much like light as they should because literally the first one no one even noticed. It was a visual gag in the background. He hits his head accidentally on a pole, and I thought it was the funniest thing, and so I shared it all with you, right? But then like the second one, obviously the crash. So and that was his entire story in that episode, and then this one, Fennec straight up knocks him out.
Yeah, he got.
He's like, "I'll save you."
Quickly. He was so useless.
How did she knock him out?
Poor Wrecker keeps getting wrong.
I mean, I think they definitely are subtly building to his chip arc or chip. I don't know, whatever it leads to. Just like I think him being like he seemed really upset or something this episode. I don't really know how to explain it, but he just seemed on edge the whole time. I don't know if that's just normal Wrecker, but
I think that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I liked there was one like characterization moment where they were like, oh, there's a bounty hunter and she's after Omega, and he's like, don't scare the kid, which is like totally not a Wrecker thing to say. So I really like he's like growing and evolving.
I noticed that too. Yeah, that was big.
I really liked that.
I think a big part of it was after the events in episode 3, I think he was really willing to just prove himself that he can actually help with everything by like taking care of Omega more, which was like, obviously he built the bunk for her. That was his biggest thing. And then in this one, he wasn't really helping Tech by staying behind. Although Tech needed everything destroyed, but he knew that he would only help by actually protecting Omega. And so Wrecker is definitely just, we are going to, I am going to protect Omega like as much as possible. And like, he's going to die for her and it's going to be the worst.
Don't say that.
Oh, no, that's going to happen.
We're all thinking it. We're all thinking it.
I wasn't out that like they were in that long tunnel and Wrecker sent Omega like to the top of a tower.
Dude, from the sewer to the tallest building in the city.
I was like, at least he's trying, all right?
I don't know if I missed something or what, but so when she's up there, I was getting Bespin City vibes a little bit when she was like hanging from the ledge.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So she tries to go back to the door, and then the panel explodes, and then she falls over. But like Fennec's busy, so she couldn't have done it. Who shot that panel?
Faulty Pantoran wiring, dude.
It just went off at such a inopportune time.
The moment she jumps out of it, she like punches in like to like seal it. So maybe she set it to self-destruct.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Why would that be? Why do you need self-destructive panels?
On a panel.
I don't know.
I missed something because it just
Why
seemed
not?
kind of
only on Pantora.
It seemed like someone shot it out, but
only on Pantora.
Pantora architecture.
Now I don't know if you guys have already talked about this, but the most important thing in this episode to me was Buggles.
Yes, I mentioned it earlier. So
cute.
Okay, Matt, does this species of dog, 6-legged dog with chicken legs, have a name?
I don't know it off the top of my head if it does.
Must.
Okay.
But I call them Buggles.
They are Buggles. Okay. This pains me because I have the Sonara figure, right? From Resistance, and in this line they also made Tora, and I'm pretty sure Tora came with Buggles. If not, she came with her like funny little droid in her thing. But I'm at the point where like I need a little
Matt
dog
saw it
with
at
chicken
5
legs.
Below.
I did. I saw Sonara.
Was Buggles there?
It did not come with
Buggles.
Buggles. No.
Oh.
By the way, Buggles, they are Vorpax from Naboo.
Vorpax.
So
Really?
I love them.
5 Below has a pretty good Star Wars section. If you
They
want
do.
to I'm not gonna lie. Like
When
some
I
of the
showed up, it
shirts
was
there
only-
were kind of crazy.
When I showed up, it was Kira and Sonara.
Oh, they always have, or
And
I guess
Tora.
they typically have Rogue One figures. I don't know if they still do, but they'll be like a $5 Krennic, and it's like, hey, grab it. Like, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Need that.
Yeah.
Might as
But
well.
there was another Resistance reference in this episode because I don't think I've ever seen this droid anywhere else. But I'm doing a rewatch of Resistance, and
Clink.
this morning I saw the episode with the little
Clink.
waddle guy, and that's also Resistance. So obviously, like they're just reusing
Meeber Gascon
assets.
in disguise.
I love it though.
I love it. I love because this episode is all over with the connections. You have the clone action figure that looks like the Stormtrooper action figure that Jin has. You have, of course, Fennec Shand. You have the Resistance references, and like I'm really digging it.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's something that like they're obviously not going to pull a lot from Resistance because there's really like not much like story wise, but they can pull all of these little characters and like little background things, and it's fantastic. And
more Buggles.
I love to see it. More Buggles.
It creates
more
that
Buggles.
Connectivity, and like, it's exciting to see them in that different art style. I mean, like I flipped out the first time I saw Lothcat in The Mandalorian on
in live action. I also was flipping out, but only because I was terrified.
Yeah, me too.
Wasn't the person who like wrote this episode, or I guess it's a team, but weren't some of them involved in Resistance or the whole show? Even
the whole show is they like majority of the production team, I believe.
I wonder why. I wonder if that's why Resistance ended, because I always got the feeling that Resistance ended early, and I'm wondering if like they were like, oh, Clone Wars season 7 is going to be big. You guys should get working on Bad Batch. And they're like, but we're already working on this show. And they're like, not anymore.
Yeah. It's oddly
like,
getting like
we have
oddly getting like a resurgence lately.
Yeah.
Resistance.
So maybe they'll go back to it one day.
Because I feel like a lot of people haven't seen it, and they're like, okay, I'll just take some more Star Wars. I mean, I personally haven't seen it yet. I do plan on watching it.
Gotta hammer it home just to see the little dog.
Resistance is fun, and I say this like every time I watch it to AJ because I'm like, it's good. I love it.
I never said it was bad. It's
baby.
It's kind of babyish. It's much more like kiddish, and obviously Star Wars is for kids, but
it doesn't grow up the same way Rebels does. But it has a lot of the same charm as like the first season of Rebels, where like if you just let it be, like
they didn't give it a chance to grow.
Well, maybe it could have
interconnect to the broader universe. I think that makes it even more narratively satisfying.
Yeah.
All right, I'll have to check it out. I have heard some good things about
Resistance today.
Yeah, there are like a few like, really good little like arcs in it. But yeah.
Donald Faison's in it. He's great. I love him.
Buggles.
Oh yeah,
and Bobby Moynihan.
Oh yeah, he was.
I want to see a live action Gorg. Or I mean, guess we kind of do in
like Jabba's like little like
those are different.
Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, those are like
the one that looks
Gorgs.
like the one behind you.
Wait, my Gorg? I should grab him.
Yeah.
On Ray's staff, impaled by Ray's staff. Jack, do I hear
Gorg?
The infamous.
No, that's right. I like it.
Bobby Moynihan Gorg.
All right, Matt. What was your? We talked about Pantora a bit off the bat because that was my favorite part of the episode. Just the vibes of Pantora and how like beautiful it was and just unique.
Yeah.
And I know you love like your backwater planets.
Yeah.
What did you and Zach think about Pantora?
I really liked it. I really like. I don't know. There's something about the most recent Star Wars properties do this really well, where a character is like walking down a busy street and you hear like drum music or like some kind of like alien music in the background, and I really like that vibe. Like they keep going for this vibe in the new like Disney era Star Wars, and I really dig it.
Yeah, that like really good diegetic music that you know that they're hearing it along with you.
Yeah, and I really like the marketplace setting. I think it's a really, really cool setting. And everyone interacting was really cool. I thought the architect was great, and then the chase scene at the end with all the speeders going by was kind of like episode 2 in Coruscant a little bit. That was a lot of fun too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think my favorite shot was when like Omega was running through the streets and she runs through the smoke and there's all the different colored lights on her and stuff, and that was done beautifully.
The animation impresses me more and more each episode. It's like it's unbelievable.
It's like the lighting. You really don't realize how much of a difference lighting makes until like you watch season 1 of Clone Wars and then season 7 of Clone Wars, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Lighting and the character, like each little expression has definitely evolved so much from season 1. Like every character is so expressive on the screen, whether it be like a little lip quiver, just like the way their head moves and someone says something. Whereas season 1 and 2 of Clone Wars was just like you're talking to someone who's looking straight at them, dead eyes, like not even blinking half the time.
If you go back and watch season 1 or 2 of Clone Wars, especially season 1, I think, how many like of the same like animation of clones carrying crates and boxes. It's like the whole background all the time. Yeah. But now there's so much detail.
They still
some
use
full
that
episodes
asset,
that
though.
just look unfinished.
I've been
they use a lot of other like background characters in this episode even that I noticed that have been in other Clone Wars episodes and stuff like that. Especially like even some like Mandalorian humans that they just kind of threw in the background to like kind of I don't know, change their skin a little bit. And
like my point, like in the beginning, saying how like everything's been kind of like the same, everyone just looks normal. All of the humans that have been in the show so far, aside from the clones, just straight up looked like Mandalorians, like everyone we saw there, and it kind of like I was like, this is a little weird. I don't like it. It's very just like meh. But like I loved them going to Pantora because everyone was blue first of all, so it's automatically different. Farmboy just said in the chat that Bobby Moynihan did a voice in this episode, and
Jack was saying that earlier.
Yeah,
who was he?
I can't remember I'm pretty sure it's the dock worker, the guy, the skeezy dock guy.
Oh,
yeah. Oh my!
They gotta cast
Bobby
Moynihan in his real life body Bobby all the time, like the short. Fine.
What do you call it? I was gonna say because we're talking about the first few seasons of like Clone Wars, and like with Rebels, I think that there's the common and complaint is that they're a little bit more childish, and it takes a season for it to really get going. But I think that's a really nice thing about Bad Batch is that we're not really seeing that. Like they're tackling pretty dark stuff right off the bat in this first season. It's not taking the time to grow up. Like, listen, this is off of Clone Wars. You should be at that same level to be able to go from A to B. And you got people like Fennec Shand who. She'll just take out anybody who's in her way, be they like a police officer or just some random citizen. But she's also still she's not a terrible person because she's not going to let Omega fall to harm because she's a child. And, she still has that respect for the innocent factor. So like it's a very adult characterization of an antagonist where they're not necessarily pure evil, but they are of course working against their interests.
That's why I think it might be Crosshair who asked Fennec to or hired her. That's why because Crosshair wouldn't want her.
How would Crosshair know Fennec?
The Bad Batch knows so many random people.
I guess how did they know? How did they know Cut and whatnot?
How did they know Cut? How did they know anybody? Like, and everyone knows, at least the clones all know who they are. So they definitely have like contacts. I mean,
they didn't seem to recognize her. So unless Crosshair went out on his own,
he is a sniper. And something to point out as well, Fennec didn't have her sniper rifle. She just had her small blaster and fist fighting Hunter with his knife. That was it.
And her massive ship.
Yeah.
Something we pointed out is that she missed. Like in Mandalorian, she's like, I never miss. So I wonder when the point gets to where she's like, you know what? I'm never gonna miss again.
I think
she did pick that police officer right in the chest. Like
I know.
No, it's true.
Yeah. And
It wasn't that shot, but
that was a pro shot.
Yeah.
So I think that with Fennec, she's still she's good, but it's not like her, like, this is her entire like life yet, or she just like switched to making this like her entire life kind of situation. And she hasn't really found like what is her best route of it. And so eventually I guess we'll be sniping, but I can't wait to see more. And I really want to know if she has that entire ship to herself, because that is a gigantic ship.
That was
maybe
huge.
She picks up sniping from Crosshair, if your theory is correct.
Yeah, that was a good theory.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Well, I really like. I want to see a Fennec versus Sue snipe off.
Ooh,
that'd be good.
That could be really good.
What were you gonna say, Matt?
I was gonna say I really liked her role in this episode, where she's kind of like the unsavory mentor for Omega, where she's like teaching her how to steal and like, the less savory parts of the galaxy in terms of like, because Omega is so wide-eyed and kind of just like naive that she's like just walking off like this stranger's like, oh yeah, I'll help you, and she's like, all right, let's go find my friends. I'll follow you, and it's like, okay. But I really like.
It's kind of like Ezra when he meets Maul.
Exactly. She's like the Darth Maul to Omega's Ezra, I guess, in a lesser extent. Because she only had like one conversation with her, but whatever.
It's not Force sensitives, because like the first time that like Ezra meets Maul, he doesn't really like know what's going on, obviously. But yeah, I like that comparison. That's pretty cool.
It's kind of similar to how the Ahsoka we know from the animated series is a little bit more lighthearted, but by the time we see her in Mandalorian, same with Fennec, they're a lot darker people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So I think you guys think we'll see Fennec throughout the season, or
I think so.
There's just going to be another hurdle that
like,
the Bad Batch gotta
like,
jump over.
Yeah.
I'll find her. I'm gonna get her. You know, like
Just staring at the sky.
Yeah,
like,
like
this episode was setting that up.
Like, who is she saying that to? First of all, like that's like the big question. Crosshair. So definitely, I think we'll see her again. I don't think that we're going to see Tarkin again though this season. If anything, we're just going to see Rampart from the Imperial side. I think that we'll see Saw Gerrera again though at some point. And obviously, we still need to see Rex. And I'd like to think that we're going to see Rex next week because based on the trailer footage situation, that's like the last thing we haven't seen yet. So,
yeah, something leaked yesterday. I sent it to the All New Nerds guys about. I guess it was fake, maybe, but it said episode 4, Band of Brothers.
It was fake, yeah.
I guess it was fake,
right,
but I'm like, I see it and I run with it. But
no, yeah, it's just so funny. Like a lot of other people took that too, and like I did too. But after it was fake, I was like, that's so easy to fake. You just right click, inspect element, type in whatever you want.
I thought Band of Brothers was kind of a weird title for it because that's like obviously a name of.
Now that I'm thinking, I forgot that you even mentioned that because when we watched it this morning, reading the title, I was like, wait a second.
I messaged them and I was like, oh, I called it because we did our predictions on the All New Nerd show. And then, the episode starts and it's Pantora. And I'm like, no, Levi called it. Shout out to Levi for predicting the episode.
Oh, man.
Do you think when Rex come in, he'll be like a regular character? Or do you think he's going to just be like a 1 or 2 episode type guy?
That's a good question. I would like for it to be a 1 or 2 character because then it'll become the Rex show.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to get D. Bradley Baker for that too.
I don't know.
He could pull like a season 1 Resistance Poe Dameron and just kind of be there. In and out for the first season, and then I don't know.
I mean, we don't know exactly what happens between when we see him in the end of season 7 and when we see him in Rebels.
Yeah,
we don't know how he meets up with the other 2 clones. We don't know how he escaped all this time without getting caught, so he could technically be a regular for maybe the first season or 2, and then I don't know how many seasons he'll have, but I'm not sure.
I'm gonna guess one like 3 episode arc for Rex and them to meet in the first one and reconnect, and then for them to help Rex find Wolf and Gregor, and then spend the 3rd episode finding a place for them to refuge because they just want to, stick around on their ATT.
That sounds like a sound idea. Would we see Ahsoka then at some point? Because
entirely possible. If they want to play with the novel, I haven't finished it yet, but from what I've read, it seems like she's kind of doing some other stuff. But I mean, they've proven that they're down to just do whatever with the books, just take away from it, add to it, whatever they want. So we could potentially see Ahsoka. I just always thought like they after Victory and Death. That's what it's called. I just watched it actually. They split off. Like that was the last they ever talked, just like to keep each other safe.
That's what I assumed also. Like I don't think that we'll see her in this because again, going back to like other conversations we've had, bringing a Jedi into the conversation isn't necessarily the way the show always needs to go. Because the focus will always be on the Jedi. That's not the focus of the show. Yeah. So I would love to see her in it, but I doubt that it's going to happen.
Oh no, I always assumed they split off relatively quickly after that episode, but I wasn't sure how quickly because this is still probably maybe a couple months at most after.
I'd say weeks.
That's
very recently.
They have a lot of time they can use.
But Hustle Mandalorian.
Hustle Mandalorian has a question in the chat.
If we get the Camino Rebellion against the Empire in the show, do you think we get some of it this season or later? I definitely do think we'll get the Camino Rebellion, and I think it'll be awesome.
I think it'll be later.
I think it'll be teased like at the end of the season. There'll be like some turmoil there and some tension.
Imagine the Bad Batch lead that. That'd be crazy.
We gotta get the boys together. Yeah, I think
Orlando, by the way. He's a All New Nerds guy, Jedi Drive guy. So
thanks for coming over.
Question,
yeah.
I could see that being part of the climax of the season because I'm not sure what else they'll build to as far as like Omega goes. Like it'll definitely be something potentially similar to the finale of season 1 of Mando, where like she gets taken and then like they're trying to get her back. But I'm wondering if somehow that could lead right into the Camino Rebellion as a 2-in-1 combo, because I think the most important thing for me in this show is that I don't want this to divert too much from the central premise. Like I want this to be about the Bad Batch and Omega first and foremost, anything else needs to feel like a side mission, or else it will take too much away from it. In the same way that some people have levied against season 2 of Mando. Keep this focused.
So, what were your thoughts on season 2 of Mando, Jack?
I love that season 2. I love season 2, Mando.
Yeah, I get what people mean by that, but I think it just worked really well.
I had the same thoughts like at the beginning. And then once Ahsoka hit, I was like, or even Bo-Katan, I was like, okay, give it all. Throw in Luke. And then
were assuaged by the end of the season. Like they executed it perfectly, in my opinion.
It's funny because I was always the opposite. I remember so many people during season 1 were like, I really like the small scale story that's detached from everything else. And I was always like, nah, dude.
Me and you,
attach it to the big stuff. I want to see the big stuff. I want to see all the characters that I love. I don't care. Like I don't really care about the smaller scale stories that don't play into a bigger narrative.
I do, but not in something like Mando. I feel like Mando needs to stay attached to the Skywalker saga to a degree. You know what I mean? Or
other stuff. I think it does it well. I think it does it well so far.
Skywalker in this show.
Yes, I would like that. I would like to see a Skywalker.
We will see a Skywalker in the show, and he'll be dressed in all black and a helmet.
Grogu Skywalker.
Oops.
But yeah, I think we absolutely see Vader in the show. At some point.
Highly possible. Yeah.
I mean, the whole epilogue for Victory and Death, we see the Imperials with Vader.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
That whole thing was a tease for all of this.
Wow. Yeah.
I wonder how long that was after. It has to be a while after.
Right, because it was the
now because we know that the clones keep their armor for a little while and are still commissioned. That reminds me of the line that I kind of liked, but it also, like, when I thought about it, I was like, okay. When Omega was like, oh, I thought they'd be happy. I thought we were happy that the war is over. And he's like, depends on what side you're on. But I can't think of a single side that benefits from the end of the Clone Wars, which is kind of funny to think about. But
yeah, well, at least what people were promised, their perception.
Well, like Jamie was mentioning earlier, I don't think you were here for this part. Like the core worlds are going to benefit pretty heavily because for them, not a lot changes, as she had mentioned. Like for them, like it's just a change of maybe who's standing guard, but maybe their taxes
the war's
go
over
a little bit. But order and security reign. Planets like Tatooine definitely wouldn't feel, or like Seleucami, outer rim planets that don't really see much of that influence because of how far out they are. Definitely don't appreciate them getting up in their business.
Yeah. And just the fact that there's no like conflict, like it is a time of peace, as like Palpatine says, because you have your skirmishes here and there, but there's not like full scale battles like we see in the Clone Wars where everything's just getting ravaged. But I mean, I get your point though.
It's a funny line though, like whose side benefits from it, because like think about like the armies alone, it's a bunch of robots and then a bunch of soldiers who are literally, they were made to be soldiers. And so like now that the war's done, it's like, what do we do? So it goes back to like, I think they say it in like the Umbara arc, Rex says something like, we're soldiers, what do we do when the war's done? So a lot of them who their chips haven't scrambled their brains are definitely dealing with the whole situation of, well, what are we doing? Like, what, now that the war is actually over, like, what are we going to do? And I think that'll be like one of the biggest things moving forward for everyone. At the moment, it seems like the plot of the show is just find some sanctuary and like lay low, and they don't really have a goal. So I mean, like, I guess going back to like the Camino Rebellion thing, I think that will come to light eventually, but I don't think it'll happen before the end of the season. Definitely not.
Well, that was a similar goal to Mando in season 1 after the 3rd episode when he saves the child, is they're going to go high off somewhere and, get away from the Empire. And then later on, they're like, oh, this is what you need to do. And they kind of establish that. So I think for the first few episodes here, we'll see them trying to hide away. And then later on in the season, it's going to be like, all right, we have this new objective. And I think one of you guys earlier said it's going to be like The Mandalorian, where they get the child and they bring him to to Moff Gideon. It's going to be similar with Omega, and they're going to bring her back to Camino, and the Bad Batch is going to have to go back there, and that might trigger something for the rebellion. But I'm not sure it's going to be the full scale at that point, at least.
They could easily create a form of chaos that could lead to it, and like it depends on what they could do because they're looking into chips. And I don't have a whole list, so I'm going to stop counting on my finger right away. But one thing that really makes me stay on that train is that in TV shows, the first episode is a really big one in terms of what it sets up, because it's like the mission statement. Like, this is the characters, this is the setting, but also more importantly, this is the problem, and these are the hints as to what the solution may be. And one of the big things we hear in this first episode is the concerns of the Kaminoans, that they are being replaced by conscripted service. And we're seeing that being repeated in like episode 3 with Crosshair leading the proto death troopers, whatever you want to call them, the first stormtrooper prototypes. And that to me makes me feel that it's going to come back around, because that's a plot point, that's a theme that seems important. Kamino and its relevance in the Empire is waning, and I don't think they'll wait a whole season to address that. I think that's going to be central to this finale.
Yeah,
put it right here.
I mean, like you kind of said, the start of the Kaminoan rebellion could just start with the Kaminoans, because we've seen them kind of just pissed off with a lot of the Empire's orders and whatnot. So,
well, I wonder if Rex now has anything to do with the rebellion, and he, either when they run into him, he's like, hey, I'm planning something and we're going to save all our brothers, either you're in or you're out. Or it's the other way, they go to him and they let him know what's going on in Kamino, and he's like, I won't stand for this.
I thought of that, but like we've brought up a few times, either on your show or ours, that like something happens with Rex and Gregor and Wolf, where they're allowed to live in peace with the Empire knowing it, like knowing kind of where they are. So if Rex was involved in a rebellion on Kamino, I doubt the Empire would let him live with that.
Right.
But who knows? I mean, who knows?
Well, maybe he's so overwhelming and they're like, hey,
maybe it's like
I guess this would be out of character for Rex to, submit to the Empire like that. But they're like, hey, if you give up here, you've already caused so much damage. We'll just let you live your little clone life.
And maybe that's it. I mean, maybe
I don't know. I think
it seems out of character for Rex, especially at the time he's at. But
that kind of detracts from his arc in Rebels, though. Because they're out hiding and they don't want to be brought into the war. Rex doesn't want to battle at the beginning; he just wants to hunt worms. And then they kind of get pulled in. But I feel like if he's been fighting all along, or at least he orchestrated a Kaminoan rebellion and was doing all this stuff, then he's like too high profile and too much in the fight already to be like, no, I don't want to. I'll sit this one out.
Do you think?
I mean?
I definitely agree, high profile, but I wonder if that could have been the straw that broke the camel's back, and that's the thing that he regretted most, was that he was responsible for so much chaos and bloodshed on Kamino.
I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that, because I feel like Rex would not abandon his brothers. I mean, I feel like he feels so much guilt for Echo literally coming back from the dead in the first place. Mm-hmm. So I think that is like a big driver for him. Whatever will happen, I feel like it'll literally come from Echo being like, Rex, we need you to do this thing, and Rex will be like, yes, I will do it.
Do you think that
go ahead? I'm pretty much done.
Do you think that, as you guys are saying all this, I got a solid thought of like, do you think Rex is part of the Kaminoan rebellion, and it's just a mess for the Empire? They want to, what the clones want is for the clones to be free of the Empire's reign, the Empire control, and get these chips out of our heads and stop controlling us. But do you think the Empire is just like, this is a pain in our ass, like, let's just call a truce, you guys can go live your own lives? And it goes back to what Cut said to Rex in Clone Wars, like, you won't be able to go live a real life with your family and whatnot. So do you think like whatever's left of that rebellion with the clones, do they get to go live like in the wild, to say?
Maybe,
and like just among the universe, the galaxy.
I feel like that would be like a solid deal, honestly, because whatever's going to happen, there's going to be a lot of bloodshed, and a lot of guilt is going to be left on whichever clones are still surviving at the end. And I think that when we find Rex, Gregor, and Wolf later down the road, it's them not just like hiding from the Empire, because they're not. The Empire knows they're there, but like I feel like it's just them still processing that guilt and that grief from so long ago. So I think it's gonna be like an unfortunate like mass extinction event for them, and it's possible that the Empire's like, all right, any survivors, just go to the like outer rim and just disappear. We don't care. Right. I feel like that's probably what's gonna happen. I think that the Empire will just try to like dispose of them the moment they start acting the moment they start becoming conscious of what the Empire is actually doing, that's going to be like what the problem is and cause them all to rise up.
Well, that might be their best bet, you know? I mean, they know the clones are very capable warriors who, a lot of them, millions of them, have experience in war, and they have their own battalions, their brothers, they have these relationships. They totally could rise up against the Empire, who, if without any of the clones, has a very small army of pretty much untrained people, you know? And their whole idea right now is use the clones to train these people. So if those clones aren't going to do that, and they're about to uprise, if I was the Empire, I'd be like, okay, you know what, just go do whatever. Like, we'll take care of this.
Yeah,
I feel like the Empire wouldn't do that though.
I'm just they kind of don't have a choice.
I feel like they're kind of trying to like milk it like as much as possible for right now, and just be like, all right, this is what our program is.
I could see a really awful scenario happening wherein, like I said, I would be interested in seeing Wolf and Gregor somehow being involved in Kamino being brought back, and then Rex grabs them. I don't know why them over all the different brothers that he has, but grabbing those two, and then a Star Destroyer, an Imperial Star Destroyer. I don't know if they would have really had those built in time. It's only been a couple of weeks, as someone pointed out in the chat. So there's really a lot of things are still fresh. Like Darth Vader's still fresh out of the box, but maybe seeing like a Venator class starship just like orbitally striking down on Kamino would be a really heavy thing to see, and like our heroes just barely escape.
Yeah, I mean,
and Dr. Pershing.
Oh no,
and Pershing.
get my boy Pershing out of there. Oh, that'd be great if we saw him. Why didn't I think of that?
Oh yeah, well, that's the thing. We know Kamino still has some kind of operation by the time, even after the Empire, because Pershing wears the patch. You know,
he's like pretty young.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. He doesn't look like what?
Interesting.
20. I mean,
that's
30s.
23 years. 20 what?
Yeah,
16 plus 4.
Probably like as old as Han, so he's probably.
Matt, in the position you're in now, you could do a killer Pershing cosplay.
Oh yeah,
with the glasses.
You see the round glasses.
Literally.
Good.
Yes.
Or the patch.
I just have to cut off my ear.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus! Oh no.
Yeah, I hope he does come back at some point. I'm just thinking now about Dr. Pershing.
Oh, he'll be back.
I think he'll be back. Yeah. Him and Moff Gideon even. I don't know if they planned on doing some things with them in Rangers, like, giving them to just the Ranger and New Prologue, which is another discussion.
We can talk about started on Rangers. I'm in mourning.
I'm in mourning.
Like, what is going on with that? I know
it's people that
what was the actual
news? It's canceled.
What was the actual news about this before we dive into what?
It's not.
It was
an active production.
Yes, it's not an active production. That was revealed when the Filoni promotion was revealed yesterday,
which also isn't really news either.
That happened last summer. Actually,
it was pretty clear that Cara was being set up for Rangers of the Republic as a main character. I'm guessing they just couldn't find a way to satisfyingly tie that in without her, since she's out. And I just wanted Kyle Katarn to show up in the canon, and that was like my one shot. And now I'm just I have to go back to my corner.
Dude, I don't think this is the death knell for Rangers of the New Republic.
No,
I think this is more of a
going back to the drawing board.
They're going back
I think
to
they're
the
gonna totally
board.
rework it. Yeah.
Well, Star Wars is Lucasfilm in a point now where they're like, okay, let's plan ahead. There's debate with their past projects, but now they're like, okay, let's set up like a universe and like just figure out what we want to do. I don't think they're just ready to scrap Rangers. No. Like they had an idea of where it's going to tie in.
I was excited.
And so
yeah, me too. I mean, if you look back at one of our past videos, it was like that's my number one thing I was looking forward to was Rangers of the New Republic. That was my number one on future projects. Right. So now I got to figure out a new number one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing too. If it gets pushed back too far, maybe it wouldn't even make sense for it to come out. So it's
so they gotta hurry up.
It's possible they took like a look at everything overall that's coming out. So Mando season 3, Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka. It's possible they looked and they're like, we got 3 shows going on. Why do we need another one? So I mean, like obviously I want more content, but at the same time, maybe they were like, does this story really need this 4th supplementary story at the same time?
It definitely.
They're like, we want more money. Promote Dave Filoni. Cancel Rangers. All the clickbait channels will be talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
They need to go give this to Cobb Vanth now.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm telling you, Cobb Vanth could lead the series. Hera, Cobb Vanth.
And Cobb Vanth, and that's it.
Yeah, I
It'd
feel
be
like that's the next
fantastic.
step for that character.
I think that they'll just like fully
Constable
rework it
Zuvio.
somehow because the
three of them. That's the new. Those are the new stars.
That'd be crazy, Constable Zuvio. But yeah, because like it's just not in development anymore. That doesn't mean that somebody isn't secretly still working on it, though.
It's not
Or
an
has
active
started
Active
development.
development.
Oh, is that what
Yeah.
it is?
No. I'm saying it doesn't have to mean that they were like developing it and then they canceled it. It might not even have started.
It might just be a different phase of the actual process. So like we don't know.
Yeah, like Hustle Mandalorian just said that they kind of went to the trouble, or someone did. It leaked out there that Hera was going to be. They went to the trouble to say that. So
yeah,
I hate these
probably
rumors,
gonna happen.
man. Sometimes they just raise your hopes and they just.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean,
just like
what
a
if,
lot of them were so accurate with Mando that it's like you
That's
really
it.
want to trust them.
A lot of those
I know.
things on Mando, I'm like, there's no way.
what if it
There's
was
no
like
way.
strategically placed? You know, we've seen that before. I forget where exactly, but like there were a lot of leaks that were like, oh, let's see how they react to this, and if they like it, then we'll do it.
I don't know. I
Like
don't follow the
everything.
leaks, so
Gotta get in the leaks.
I don't want to get in on the leaks. Here's the
Okay, yeah,
thing:
that
I
makes
just want the content. I don't care to know about it 3
I
years in
want the
advance,
content
and then it ends
too,
up being
3
wrong.
years in advance.
But then you spend this whole time just being like, is it out yet?
I like to just
No?
think about it. I like to
That's,
think about it, like stew about it. I don't need to like hear like, oh, I think I saw a Wookiee, and it's like, oh, is it Black Chrysanthemum?
Hey,
Okay,
we
whoa,
put that
whoa,
one
whoa.
out there. That one's us.
That's us.
That's why. That's why I use that example.
Yeah, I don't know. What's making me most upset about this, and it's kind of a different discussion, but it's more how some people are reacting to it as if this is like a good thing that's like going. It's like when a
Yeah.
project gets
I don't know
canceled, that is
who-
not a good sign. Not that it got canceled, but it's not a good sign for any development of
No.
anything going on over there.
I
And
can't
it's just
imagine.
like I don't know. I don't know why like Rangers of the New Republic is such a bad thing to some people.
This package
Yeah,
of
I get it.
shows, you know, exploring the New Republic, having, you know, ooh, Luke Skywalker as a Jedi show up. Ooh, look, X-Wing,
Yeah.
you know, and all X-Wing pilots, all that. Like, I don't get who would be against that. Who would be happy that that's getting canceled?
This is
And
the
I
era
am
I'm
not
most
even, like,
curious about.
I'm really
Yeah.
not like I'm not a huge sequel fan. I'll admit it, but Rangers of the New Republic for me is a really good opportunity for them to flesh out a lot of more things and
That's why I
make
love the
those
New Republic.
movies better for me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's why I love, you know, Mando season 2 was starting to do that. I have no doubt they're going to continue doing that with all these
Yeah.
other shows. So, you know,
So I
you
feel
look
a big
thoughtful, Jamie.
because I'm trying to like think of just like the best way to word this. So I feel like a big piece of what's going to be happening in the next few years, I would assume, is the fact that Dave Filoni is now a CFO, right? Creative,
Yeah,
whatever.
Executive.
always
Yep,
has been.
he's
Yeah,
so
he's
it's
been that
pretty
way for a
much
year.
Yeah.
his same like
Didn't they like tweet it
in,
out
like-
recently though?
it was like
They tweeted it out yesterday.
That was
Yeah.
It was like
Oh.
a big announcement that like everybody was freaking out about, but then Variety
So-
came out with another article that's like, no, actually, this happened last year.
Here's
Like, a long
yeah,
time ago.
so exactly. So it's been a thing anyway. I think that the biggest thing I can't talk enough about this is like I love Dave and I love the work that he's done for the prequels. I want that entire treatment for the sequels. Simple as that. And like that's what we're getting. That's what we're getting with all these new shows in between, with starting with The Mandalorian. It's bridging that gap of OT to SD. And
Oh, yeah.
I need
People-
all of the content. And I think that another big piece of it as well, now that Dave is a official creative executive, is to give the opportunity for more creators that aren't just him. And like it goes back to, obviously started with one man, George Lucas, and it was his vision, and Dave's his protege. And it's like, okay, but there's a lot of extra people additionally who have good ideas, and Dave works with them,
Oh, yeah.
and he collaborates with them, and he listens to them. And
yeah.
I think that fans just need to realize that every single idea isn't out of his head.
Well, even like
There's a
look
lot
at
of other people that are doing these things.
Kenobi's like Deborah Chow, and
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
exactly.
amazing. at
Chloe
what she did with
Zhao-
Mandalorian.
Yeah,
Isn't
I mean,
Chloe Zhao
I
doing Rogue Squadron. No,
Yep,
sorry,
Patty
that's-
Jenkins.
That's
Patty
Patty
Jenkins,
Jenkins.
yeah.
Mhm.
personally,
Chloe
I
Zhao
find
was-
comfort in thinking or knowing in some cases that he does have some part of certain stuff, just because big Dave
Yeah.
Filoni guy here,
Yeah.
as you guys are too, and it's like knowing that he has some influence in things or looks over certain things is
Well,
to me comfort. Like okay,
Yeah.
it's in good hands.
I
Yeah.
love that there's a guy who directly collaborated with George Lucas, was mentored by George Lucas, learned about what George Lucas thinks about all these things. I like that there's somebody in Lucasfilm that knows that has that kind of mindset and can kind of monitor everything.
Yeah,
based on the gallery, you see a clear a collaborative effort between everybody, and like that's in television especially, that's how, like, compared to movies where someone like the director calls the shots, and the television show the director is different for each episode. So but that's the thing, each director gets to put their own visual spin, they get to have that little bit of license with that episode and with that little slice of what they're telling. And I think that's why Dave is so open to all these different collaborations, because that's just how he works. It's just how he's worked since he got into the business with like Avatar, like working on that show and everything.
Which I think is kind of not the opposite of George, but I don't know, like
a little bit.
George,
because George is very much.
I love the prequels. Obviously, I know. They were also taken with mixed reviews when those came out, but which people seem to forget sometimes. But it was kind of like a yes man type thing when George had so much power during those, and everyone just reported to him. And if you watch the Phantom Menace documentary, you'll see it was pretty uncomfortable. But like Jack just said, he nailed it. Filoni's about kind of, and Favreau too. Let's not forget about him. They're both so. They want everyone's like opinion on stuff, it seems, and they're like,
we'll write the thing, we'll like figure out where we want it to end off, and certain
as much as
beats we want to hit, but you guys fill in the gaps.
As much as that roundtable show kind of,
season one really bothered the crap out of me of that. Honestly,
it was so like
but
there was so much.
Season 2 was fantastic.
There was so much like what's the word I'm looking for?
You're great. Oh no, you're great. Oh, you're
like
awesome.
I
love when you did that.
I love all the people at that table, but it was so like
it was
phony.
Just so awkward.
It was sterile.
There's a bunch of Jerry's pat each other.
But Dave breaking down Duel of the Fates.
Yeah, that was great.
That was
I like
great
that.
Moment. Yeah. But I think this. So my problem with like going just a little bit back to the fan base, this is a topic I really don't like dwelling on too much. But there's this fantasy that there's a war between Filoni and Kennedy.
Civil War. Lucasfilm War.
Again, Filoni is a collaborative, creative director. We know this based on his history. And Kathleen Kennedy has been producing Spielberg and Lucas things since like Raiders, since like Temple of the Doom. So it always blows my mind that people think this is happening, because couldn't be clearer to me that there isn't this strife that they think there is. There very well was during the sequel era's production. We saw that with things like Chris Miller and Phil Lord being thrown out of Solo halfway through production. There was
Rogue One.
All these movies getting announced and then getting tossed. Like, where's Ryan Johnson's movie and all this?
Waiting for that.
Now I'm seeing clarity. I'm seeing focus. I'm seeing the direction that I get from the Marvel series, and that like I think makes it so satisfying to follow is this level of competency, and we know this through line and what we want to do, and this is how we're going to sprinkle it throughout.
We're through that growing period. I think we are almost safely through that growing period, which is with the whole news of Dave becoming officially in title a creative executive. We're through that growing period, and we have finally figured out like what the future content will be. And it's unfortunate that things happened in the timeline that they did happen, but we still got a lot of killer content. I
mean, people forget.
I loved it.
People forget that Marvel went through a ton of growing pains at the beginning.
Y'all remember
look at the early
Incredible
Marvel
Hulk?
Movies.
I remember the Dark World.
Do you remember? Oh man,
Yeah.
do you remember that great Inhumans movie we got, and Edgar Wright's Ant-Man
TV show where half the time they're just in a forest for some reason?
Yeah.
I by the way, just to circle us back to Bad Batch. Is anyone else getting Echo Winter Soldier vibes? Like, I know he wasn't like uniced to go assassinate people, but there's that like, I've got a metal arm, I've got a dark past, I'm really troubled.
Never
I've
thought
got
of
a lot
that.
of things to work out. And then they're on a planet that reminded me a lot of in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Why am I blanking on Madripoor? Thank you.
Madripoor.
Vibes.
Loving those vibes. The thing like going into like this season is like while we were watching Falcon Winter Soldier, I'm like I mentioned it earlier, the whole cyberpunk vibe and whatnot, and I'm like, oh, this is great. It's definitely like on trend right now. And then they go to Madripoor and Falcon Winter Soldier, and I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. And then they pretty much like have been at a lot of places like that as well so far in just Pantora so far.
And I feel like they took that from like I think Madripoor pulled that a lot from. They talked about it in their gallery thing, the assembly cut or whatever, pulling from all these different things like from Southeast Asia. as those kind of cities. But I also think that a lot of it came from how Coruscant pulled from those same environments, the Undercity, like in again episode 2. Like it just felt like I was walking around the Undercity.
I love it.
There is something I wanted to bring up, Bad Batch related. So there's been a lot of talks like bringing Boba in and potentially having Omega, you know, since she's young here, bring her into future projects. Do we think that, so, you know, Boba really doesn't consider any of the clones brothers. In fact, he really doesn't care for them at all. But do you think him and Omega could have some sort of brotherly sister relationship if Omega isn't like, it doesn't have accelerated aging? And if maybe there's room to bring her into Book of Boba Fett. We were talking a lot about that last night on our watch party. So I'm just wondering what you guys might think about that.
I feel like it could happen.
Yeah,
that would be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
I was thinking that it might be cool to see Boba in this show, and again, like anything just to keep that connection and help just further flesh out these stories. Because I think that wouldn't feel as blatant as like I'm kind of mixed on Luke after a couple of months removed from the situation. I feel like it took away from Mando's unmasking. I very much have a personal connection with Mando, and I was waiting for that moment where he would take it off in front of everybody. And I feel
you're gonna get that Din and Grogu Funko that they just revealed.
I gotta find it. I can't find the link. I gotta order it.
I'll find it later.
Thank you. But like I feel the same way about a lot of the different theories. Like even my joking theory about Palpatine somehow being related to trying to use Omega for cloning as a Force sensitive. As silly as that is, like I actually don't really. I agree with you, Jamie. I think that would really take away from the central story. And with Boba, I feel like that would really be a satisfying connection.
I feel like maybe with the appearance of Fennec this episode, in a lot of shows, obviously there'll be two stories like going on at once and sometimes following totally different characters. I feel like with the appearance of Fennec, we might be branching off into what is she doing and who is she actually relating to, and like she's definitely part of some sort of like bounty hunters guild or something like that at this point. So I'd hope that like we eventually see Boba and like see Aura Singh and Cad Bane and see everybody, and like
we will.
Just hope so.
We'll definitely see Boba. We'll most likely see Cad Bane. That'd be a missed opportunity.
It's probably just because Instagram's algorithm, but like Daniel Logan's comment popped up on a Bad Batch promotion on Insta.
He comments on everything.
I know, he's a huge Star Wars
He comments on everything.
It got me thinking.
He comments on everything. That's what the thought is.
But like Mark Hamill is the same way. Like he'll be like, what do you think about this? And it's like, what did you do?
Yeah.
Oh, you're voicing Skeletor now. Oh, damn it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like if Omega doesn't have accelerated aging, I just think that's literally the closest thing that Boba would consider to a sister, you know, considering he doesn't consider himself a clone, really. He considers himself his own person.
Yeah.
They're literally the same. They're from the same donor, Jango Fett, and they're both very similar. So,
well, we don't know if Omega's from Jango.
If Omega,
it's true.
We don't know for sure.
I think she is just New Zealand accent.
It's close.
Similar look.
Brother and sister in the lab.
She's growing up around a bunch of New Zealanders. I mean, what do you want?
That's true. Omega.
Well, no, she really.
You gotta pick it up.
She really isn't. She's hanging around with a bunch of Kaminoans. So she should be talking really creepy.
Yeah. Well, either way, accent is like you pick it up, right?
Accents are learned no matter what.
So
she's fascinated by the clones, so I'm sure she was bothering all sorts of clones before the Bad Batch got back home.
Right.
Yeah.
You'd think that they would have run into each other before, but they seem to have not been home for a long time when we see them at episode 1.
I think there's a woodpecker on the house.
Wrecker just left Lula there for a while. Eh?
Yeah.
He clearly didn't care about her too much.
Yeah, no.
Keeping her safe, because I mean,
you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen on a mission. Can't bring
Okay. Last thoughts. We got more Gonki screen time with Gonki helping with their repairs with all the other droids, just like the toolbox on top of him.
He's such a helpful lad.
Gonki's the best.
They didn't even name drop him yet. They're not like, oh, hey Gonki.
He gets disrespected.
He's just one of the boys, you know.
We need a Gonki-centric episode, a Gonki-centric arc, really.
I just want like a whole episode that confirms that they're like a battery or something.
Well, it turns out Meaver Gascon's actually inside a Gonki this whole time.
I thought he was in Clink.
Russian Gonkis.
I mean, you know,
weighing either one.
Yeah, exactly. You never know.
Oh man,
the little one just goes gonk, gonk.
Oh boy. Okay. Cool.
All right.
Y'all, anything else? Anything?
Zach, any final thoughts?
Zach, any thoughts? welcome to the stream. Goodbye.
Yeah. I'm predicting that Omega was a experiment to be force sensitive, like I think you mentioned earlier. So I don't know if she is. It's possible she is, and I think that's why they're so adamant about getting her back. Because I think Fennec was hired by the Kevin Owens. I know you said it's possibly Crosshair, but I think it's Kevin Owens because they want to create clones that are superior, especially now, so they can keep the contract with the New Empire. That might have been an experiment they were doing just to see what they could do before Order 66 happened. And that's why she's obviously not like an infant. But I think now that they need a way to keep in favor with the Empire, they're going to have to do something. And what's better than having someone that's force sensitive, which could tie into the sequels where they have the clone of Palpatine later on. And in Mandalorian, they tease it a little bit when they go to that facility with Cara Dune.
The siege.
Yeah, that you think exactly. And I think this is a very early experimentation with Omega, and they introduce it a little bit, and they try to figure out how to do that with Palpatine later on.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
Millie,
it makes sense.
I have one last crackpot theory, but I want to end it on. But anyone else have any other
Millie
good ideas, theories?
Something interesting. She saw a tweet saying that Omega could be cloned from Jango's sister, who in Legends was blonde. Tamora Morrison's real sister, who passed away, was also blonde. That would satisfy me because I find it's weird that they could just. I mean, anything's possible in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But just like flip a clone from male to female.
Where'd they get that DNA?
That's true. That'd be difficult.
All right. Crackpot theory. Omega is a clone of Rex.
Ooh.
But
he dyed his hair, didn't he?
You can't clone a clone. They're always concerned about the template and running out of the genetic material.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway.
Also, Farm Boy asked Dylan or Dylon, where can he find the All New Nerds podcast?
Yeah, so we are all on YouTube as of right now. I think we have one episode on Spotify, and then we're like, "There's too much work. Just put it on YouTube." So right now we're all on YouTube. Just All New Nerds. You can find us there. It should be the first thing that comes up. So yeah, thanks for looking out.
Cool. All right. I think we're gonna end it for the night then. Got a little bit of hockey to watch tonight, but yeah.
Hockey and food.
Hockey and food.
I forgot all about.
Shut up. Who said that? Who said that? Get out. But really, thank you guys. Thank you, chat, so much for tuning in to HoloNet Marauders Live with our awesome new little logo. Our friend Meg made that.
Sweet.
So
it's sweet.
Meg Cal illustrations
Very good.
on Instagram. So yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning into the stream. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye now.